Her work explored themes of exile, identity, and the female body. Her career was tragically cut short by her death, and the circumstances surrounding it have profoundly influenced her legacy. And this project investigates how her posthumous legacy is shaped by four distinct literary works, using a novel approach that combines traditional qualitative analysis with artificial intelligence. So this is, I have pieces by Ana Mendieta that are appropriate throughout the presentation, just to give you a look into some of the work that she did. This is called Untitled Glass on Body Imprints from 1972, where she pressed a piece of glass up to her face, smashing it, and took a series of photographs. All the works are from the Ana Mendieta, gosh, it's eluding me with the term, the estate of Ana Mendieta that was run by her sister for a long time. And then this is just a brief bio from the estate of Ana Mendieta website that I think is really important just to briefly review. I think it's really important to represent the artists as they wanted to be represented and as their estates want them represented. So she was an interdisciplinary artist, referring to herself as a sculptor. She's best known for her earth and body works, most specifically her now iconic Silhouette series. There's several of those in the presentation that you'll see, in which she used her body and later the absence of the body in the landscape as a way of connecting with nature and the universe. Spanning a period of 15 years, Mendieta created groundbreaking work in sculpture, photography, film, drawing, and site-specific installations using organic materials such as earth, water, and fire. Her pioneering works are in more than 120 public institutions and museums worldwide and continue to be influential today. Her innovative work has been the subject of over 55 solo museum exhibitions. There have been 15 monographs published to date, and she was born in Havana, Cuba, 1948, and died in New York City in 1985. So the primary research question that I am looking to answer is, how do four literary works, a biography, a critical analysis written by an art historian, a biographical account of her death, and a fictional novel construct the public perception of Ana Mendieta's posthumous influence and artistic contributions? So this is another work of hers, Untitled, from 1973. My sub-questions are, how is Mendieta's art framed and its significance explained in each of these four texts? How is her identity, Cuban female exile performance artist, represented, and how does it intersect with her work? And how does each text address the circumstances of her death and its impact on her legacy? And this is another piece. I believe she had a male friend of hers shave off his beard, and she glued this to her face. This is Untitled Facial Hair Transplants from 1972. So my presentation isn't super long, but I'm going to go into some detail about, like, after I review the four texts, like how I came upon this idea. Because I think it's really important, because I have a lot of like personal investment in this project. So I'm looking at four texts. The first is by Robert Katz, called Naked by the Window, The Fatal Marriage of Carl Andre and Ana Mendieta from 1990. This is a biographical account that focuses on her relationship with her husband and artist Carl Andre and the circumstances of her death. Carl Andre, he's either still alive or recently passed away. He was like a seminal minimalist artist in the United States. If you Google Carl Andre minimalism, his work will come up very quickly. Minimalism is like, it was like in the 60s into the 70s, and it was really about paring down art that was shown in galleries to like the basic elements. Like some of these pieces were like metal squares on the floor, fluorescent light bulb. It was very minimalist, and it was almost like very industrial. And Mendieta's work was almost the opposite of that. So she's working with the body, whereas the minimalists did not work with the body. She worked with the landscape. Minimalists didn't work with the landscape. Oftentimes they had their pieces created by a manufacturer. So for example, if one of them wanted like, metal squares made of, I don't know, steel, they would contract someone to do that, and really kind of some of them disassociated the work of art from the artist. And it was more about the intention, the idea of the artist, and then the end product versus the artist necessarily having like their hands directly creating the art. And Mendieta was very, again, the antithesis of that. So if we go to look at, this is Silhouetta Sangrienta from 1975. She was very much about using her hands, using the earth. It was very visceral, but also a lot of her work was performance based. So while we have this piece, which is, you know, um, like an autobiographical piece, or self-portrait is the word I'm looking for. A lot of these pieces are only documented through photographs. So they were done in, she did some in Mexico, she did some in the United States, specifically Iowa, because she was, when she was a teenager, she was brought over to the United States on what's referred to as the Peter Pan. It was the name of this transportation of Cuban exiles, specifically children being brought over to the United States and put into the foster care system to be able to be safe from communism in Cuba. And she ended up with her sister in Iowa, and she went to the University of Iowa for her bachelor's and her master's in fine arts. So she did a lot of work there, but these are very sort of ephemeral. Well, they're incredibly ephemeral because once they're gone, once nature erases the traces of this, all we have left are the photographs. So to go back to her husband, Carl Andre, they had a very volatile relationship based on what I've read. And she was found outside of their New York apartment on the sidewalk. And that's how she died, a fall from a window, hence the Naked by the Window, the title of the book. Her husband, Carl Andre, was taken to trial for her death, and he opted for a trial by judge, which is where the judge gets to decide the fate of the accused, and there was no jury involved. So he was acquitted of the crime. And this sparked a lot of feminist artists and people in the art community getting really upset about what had happened to her. And there was a huge controversy where he and her sister like really fought about her work's representation in galleries and museums, and it took a long time for her work to find its way back into museums after she passed away because of their disagreements. I think that's the nicest way I could put it. So in an era where we're really trying to focus on the victims of tragedies versus the potential perpetrators, I thought it was really important to take a look at this woman who I had learned about in my bachelor's and master's degrees in art history in my programs, and really admired her work. But I didn't really hear about the personal side of her until, I'm not gonna lie, I was watching E True Hollywood Story on VH1 back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I really kind of found out about what happened to her and started doing some research into her. I'm also focusing on the text that I'm actually reading right now is by Jane Blocker. It's called Where is Ana Mendieta from 1999. And this is it's written by an art historian. This is an extension of her dissertation. It's a critical analysis of her of Mendieta's art to explore the themes of exile, identity, and performativity. I'm also going to be looking at Christine Redfern and Caro Cairns, who is Ana Mendieta from 2011. And this is a graphic novel, essentially biography that provides an accessible overview of her life and art. And then what really inspired this project was Xochitl Gonzalez's Anita de Monte Laughs Last from 2024. This is a fictional novel inspired by Mendieta's life, exploring themes of gender, fame, and artistic legacy. It came out last year, and I listened to it over the summer on Audible. and I didn't know what it was about, but I started picking up like bits of Ana Mendieta's life as I was listening to the novel, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is about her and her relationship with Carl Andre and what happened to her. And it centers around a an art history la 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 an art history undergraduate student in the late 90s who stumbled on some works by Mendieta. Well, Anita DeMonte in the fictionalized version, and became really interested in her work. And I really connected with the novel because I graduated from high school in 1999 and went to study art history undergraduate, um, and rolled right into a master's program after that. So I don't know, it just hit me on multiple levels, and I started kind of thinking about like how I could dive into looking at Ana Mendieta's life and what her legacy is now. And I did some preliminary research, and I found that there hadn't really been a look at the influence of how she's portrayed in text. Um, it was just really about her work itself and like the different theories applied to it. So I also have a master's in English. So the literature aspect and the art history aspect really just kind of like gelled in my mind for just looking at the time here, for doing something like this. And given that there was a gap in the research on Ana Mendieta and how she's viewed based on books that have been written about her, whether it's a critical art historical analysis or a graphic novel or a fictional account or like a biography from 1990 that's based on a lot of like court transcripts and interviews, first person interviews of people who knew her. I thought this was a really good opportunity a little over 40 years later to revisit what her legacy is now and how it's viewed based on in the public based on how she's been written about. So in terms of my methodology, it's qualitative. I'm a qualitative researcher. My dissertation and education was qualitative, so this is right up my alley. It's going to involve both critical feminist theory and grounded theory. In terms of the close reading, I'm conducting in-depth or close readings of each text. So I'm actually like reading the physical book, taking notes as I go. And then I'm going to type out all of the quotes that I have underlined and create preliminary coding schemes based on the quotes that I pulled from the text and those research questions that I've already identified. I'm going to use those to identify key themes. And then in terms of AI assisted thematic analysis, I'm going to use that. So it's going to be like a large language model to validate the key themes, to basically like look at what I've come up with, have it review what I've done and see if it comes up with anything new or contradictory to what I've looked at and what I've found. Okay, and then this is another work from the Estate of Ana Mendieta's website called Body Tracks from 1974. This is the piece that usually it's found its way into textbooks, which I find kind of interesting. I saw it and I immediately recognized it, and this is the main one that I've seen in my undergraduate and graduate art history programs. Expected findings with the comparative analysis of the different texts across different genres, which I also thought was really important. They're going to shape the portrayal of Mendieta. I'm hoping to find consistent themes and divergent themes influenced by each of the authors of those text purposes. And then AI integration is going to reveal new insights or maybe subtle thematic connections that might have been missed by human analysis alone. I think that's one of the things I'm most excited about with trying to use AI is not using it to replace the work that I'm doing, because I'm very invested in it. I think it's really important to like touch the text, read it myself, underline, type out the quotes, that sort of thing, but to see what it might pick up that I might have missed. And then ultimately, I'm hoping to find a more nuanced understanding of how an artist's legacy is constructed through the complex interplay of their merit, their biography, tragedy, and cultural memory.
Dr. Brodin,
Yes.
sorry to
Thanks.
just 1 minute remaining.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm almost done, so perfect. So this is another piece from the Silhouette series from 1979. So you can see that she's really like using the earth in different ways. You can see back here that she's filled it in. Look, it's most likely paint, but it looks like blood, almost like a crime scene. A lot of her pieces are kind of based on that, which is kind of ironic in a way. And then this is more like, natural green. It looks like it might be moss, something along those lines. Um, and then in conclusion, so this research contributes to the study of posthumous legacy, feminist art history, and the evolving role of artificial intelligence in humanities research. And by combining human expertise with AI's analytical power, we can better understand complex narratives that shape public perception of an artist's life and work. And
Much.
this is Anima Silhouette de Cohetes, firework piece from 1976. She did work with clearly all of the elements in her work. And yeah, that is my presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brodin, for that fascinating presentation. We have actually actually more than a couple of questions. No, actually a couple of questions in the chat. So I think Yasin asked, what was Ana Mendieta known for? Did she get in trouble for her artistic engagement?
So she was really known for she like crossed several kind of genres within the art world. So at the time in the 1970s and early 80s, specifically in the 70s, there was a lot of earthworks that were being done, where artists would go out. So for example, outside of Silver Springs, Nevada, which like coincidentally of my best friend lived there for a while. They would go and like there was this one specific artist, I can't remember his name. He would go and carve out like chunks of land. And then also there's like the great spiral at the Great Salt Lake in Utah, which I think some remnants of it are still there. You can still go see it. So there's a big push with earthworks during that time. There was also a big push with body works where artists were using their bodies as art and performance. And also performance art, which was happening kind of all over the place, but specifically in New York City. So she really kind of like spanned all of these different genres of art that were very contemporary, as well as feminist art. So she's known for specifically that Silhouette series is like her biggest, I would say her most popular series. I don't know specifically what kind of trouble she got into. I do know there was controversy surrounding her work, but a lot of the most avant-garde artists at the time who were pushing boundaries, got in trouble publicly. I don't think she was taken to court or arrested for any of it. But there was also a big controversy between like the minimalist artists like Carl Andre and then the more contemporary artists like Ana Mendieta, and like what was the true nature of art? What is the definition of art? Which has kind of always been argued throughout history in terms of artistic production and what qualifies as art based on culture. I think that's the best answer I can give to that question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brodin. Our next question is from Camille. Is there a documentary on this artist?
Oh, I'm sure there is. I will put my email in the chat. If you would like to email me, I can look it up for you. I just don't want to like hop off and go start Googling during my presentation. But I'm sure there are several. I think there may have been a movie made about the first book that I stated that I'm going to be looking at, which is well, chronologically, the Naked by the Window one. I know I have to find where they're at and where they're streaming though. If you want to email me, I can find them for you.